guys, it's a special day in our household because even though our channel has only been up since, what, July? We've already hit 50 subs, and our first video to hit 1,000 views happened like last week's. So, yeah, that was super awesome. Link here for that video that just hit like 1,000 views. So we decided to do a little bit of, I guess, a mile marker. Kind of bring everybody along for the ride, see like what we're actually trying to do here, and celebrate a little bit. As you can see, these aren't beers. Normally we do beer tasting because we like hard alcohol, but then we saw these in the store and we're like, I don't know any of these. So we decided that we'd try these and make all of the funny faces for your guys' behalf. So let's jump into that, and later we'll get into where we're headed with this channel, what we're trying to do.
Alright, so let's start with this one.
Take these two off to the side, get our glasses. What do we got?
This is an American potato vodka.
Oh dear God.
Save us all.
Yes.
It is made in Idaho, where we grow the potato.
Okay. The bottle is blue, the alcohol is not.
Yeah. It's made from russet potatoes, so the big brown ones. We're going to pull this fancy little tab over here.
We have never tried any of these three alcohols. They were on the clearance rack. That's why we did this. So, like, it's a cork. Is it a cork? It is a cork. Oh.
Oh my.
So this is a new discovery. You can huff it and get drunk that way.
It's inspected. How much alcohol is in this?
It's vodka. It doesn't matter. It says 80 proof, 40%, which is the standard. Let's not go too heavy on this. Okay. Okay. It should be noted that these are all vodkas. We're not going to mix, between the different types. Like, drinking multiple beers in one setting is something totally different than drinking multiple kinds of liquor in one setting.
We're also not mixing them with anything.
True, we are also drinking them straight. Bottoms up, funny faces away. Wow.
Oh God.
Could you drink it straight? Probably, but it would have to be a really bad day at work. Does it make you nice and warm and fuzzy like the American dream inspires? Yes. But you could probably get the same effects from drinking it that you could get from huffing, like...
rubbing alcohol.
Yeah. So this is made by a distillery called 44 North. This is the Mountain Huckleberry. Huckleberry flavored vodka. Also from Idaho, USA. Maybe there's something to be said about American vodkas and the clearance rack. Nevertheless, that one wasn't bad, so I mean...
This one is by Blue Ice. I don't think I mentioned that, so...
Oh, it says ice.
Yeah. What do you think it said?
Lee?
Oh.
Come on, you. No. I learned that little tidbit when I worked in a bar. Yeah, you can have fun with that one.
like.
Do not drink this straight. That one is not good straight. Could you drink it straight? Maybe. Is it recommended? Never.
No.
Alright. There you go.
Absolute Juice, Apple edition.
So this is made by Absolute Vodka, for those of you who didn't know. 35%, and it is apple infused, I'm guessing. I have no idea. It was also on the clearance rack.
It's a fall one.
Oh!
They've got, when it was made, over here on the side, that they just, like, punch it out, I guess.
Huh.
Yeah.
Now I am familiar with the brand Absolute Vodka.
It's Swedish.
It's not my favorite. We don't like Absolute Vodka. It doesn't. There's something off about it, and I cannot explain or describe what it is. You gonna open it?
Maybe. I have to.
I mean, like, you're pondering the bottle as if it's got, like, Nordic text on it. Like, what could it mean?
Well, the thing is like, all of these are going to be in our cabinet now, and we're going to have to drink them all.
Nonsense. Have you seen the stuff that's down there? Some of it hasn't been touched in ages, and I have
They're for guests.
They're for guests.
Oh, dear.
Actually, one of my coworkers today was sitting there, and he's like, I kind of want to go home and... Okay, it smells like green apples, like Granny Smith's.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. He's like, I want whiskey. Who's got whiskey? I was like, I got whiskey. And he's like, oh, sweet. And I was like, what kind? I think I caught him off guard. Most people don't say that. Most people only have one kind of whiskey. I've got like 3. I have 3 kinds of whiskey in my cabinet right now. I had to think about it for a moment. Here we go! It's not bad. Obviously, it's vodka, and it's probably not meant to be drank straight. And we do not have the Russian blood in us to drink vodka straight, obviously.
American vodka. Russian vodka straight is not bad.
Do you want to go grab your Russian vodka and give a comparison?
No, not after these 3.
You don't need a chaser?
No.
I'd say that was all pretty fun.
It burns.
Okay, so potato vodka could probably be mixed with just about anything. It does not leave the traces of potatoes. Would you agree?
I would agree.
I
Then again, most vodka is made from potatoes.
Yeah.
So them marketing it as potato vodka is kind of redundant.
I don't know. I do not know the distillation process of vodka well enough to make a solid judgment call. I do believe that the most common process of making vodka would be with potatoes, but I am not certain on that, and I feel like there could be a secondary way that has been discovered in the last 150 to 100 years that circumvents potatoes, or greatly reduces it to the point where the majority of the mash is not potato.
I have no idea.
I have no idea either. But in any case, there's some vodkas that have like a horrible, like, you can't mix them. But there's no point in mixing them because they taste terrible.
All 3 of these could be mixed with things and taste okay.
True. For example, the apple, anything apple, or I bet cider. I bet that would be real good with like some warm hard apple cider. You know, some adult hard cider. You know, probably be real good. The mountain huckleberry.
Ooh, some mulled apple cider, you know, get some mulling spices.
That's what I was saying, yeah.
Well, you didn't like it when I made mulled apple cider last time.
Well, I was thinking like warm apple cider with alcohol.
Right, but mulling spices and mulled apple cider is a little bit different. Yes, it's hot, but it's not your typical apple cider.
Well, I am not enough of a cider
Fanatic?
I was going to say schmuck, but fanatic is much better word.
I'm a bit of a cider fanatic. Yeah.
So
There was a year where I drank like 5 gallons of apple cider in a week.
I remember that, yes. I was there. It did happen. I can agree. We had to sit down and talk about it after that happened. Anyways, back to the main storyline. That could be put in a hot apple cider. As for the last one, you could easily mix this with any berry type drink. Anything fruity, anything berry infused, berry inspired, berry derivative. Like you can mix that with cranberry.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Anyway, we're kind of getting away from the main point of the video here.
We seriously are getting away from the main point of the video. So we are going to do a quick little transition and we will see you guys where we introduce the next part and the main part of this video.
So what we wanted to do for you guys is we wanted to show you exactly what we're trying to do with the channel and where we're trying to take it over time, of course. And so to present that to you, rather than just talking about a bunch of things that you would have to conceptualize in your mind, we decided to actually draw out some concept art. Unfortunately, when we did this first time, nothing came through, so we're going to redo it this time. And that's why instead of us on camera showing you, there's paint, which, yeah, okay, but.
This is the first concept art that we did. It's on sticky notes because I didn't like the original, so I went over and redrew it elsewhere and refused to redraw it again because I really suck at recreating my art.
I did ask, but the answer was no.
Yeah. The style for it is diesel punk. It's gonna be grungy, gross, kind of just gritty.
Can you describe what is diesel punk for those of us that do not know?
Diesel punk is kind of like what steampunk is to the Elizabethan era. Diesel punk is to the 1940s. So it's diesel technology, lots of different kinds of metals, usually aluminum and steel, sometimes some of the darker metals like copper and brass, but very rarely. There's usually a lot of rivets, and sometimes it goes kind of like cyberpunky with a lot of wires and just odds and ends, which is kind of where I was going with this.
So it's a lot of like scrapyard technology, but from what would be available in the 1940s.
Yeah. So I wanted to have an outside mounted radiator, well, at least the fans, and then a reservoir that's on the outside, some fans that are lit through LEDs behind them, as well as like a little window and maybe some holes. But
So what are we looking at on the back end?
on the back side here, I wanted to have like a little puffed out piece of metal where we pressed it out from the inside but made it look like it was attached separately as an addition. And then that's pretty much it on the back side. There's going to be some cool little logos on it that I designed and hid subsequently from you. I hid them to kind of keep it safe because it is, you know, my design, and I'd rather not have people take it before I can use it, because that would really suck. Going back to some of the additions that I'd like to have on it, this would be the reservoir on the outside, some of the cabling kind of like here, and then some of the smaller cables kind of dangling out of some holes, and then the fans for the radiator here. That window I talked about would be right here, kind of in the corner. No real purpose to it, just kind of looks cool. And then all these little dots are the rivets. This would be the fan on the inside that's lit from the back with LEDs. All the rivets on the case, both front and back, are going to be varying sizes, and then all of it is going to look like a mash of different kinds of metals, so we're going to tint them in different colors maybe.
Or we might just end up using different kinds of metals altogether.
Finding a case on today's market that fits the needs for this build would be rather quite difficult, so we're thinking that this might be a scratch build anyway, so using different kinds of metals would not be too terribly inconvenient.
For those of you uninitiated, if you will, a scratch build is when you build the case from scratch. You design the whole thing. Ordinarily, individuals think that it's as simple as just finding a box and putting things in it and cutting holes. But let me tell you, it's a lot more difficult trying to line things up with any degree of precision. It's more taxing than most people really come to realize. I think a lot of people take for granted the cases that we have on the market today and how cheap and easily they can be had.
So that's it for this one, and we're going to move on to the next one.
Where Diesel Punk was Jessica's baby, this is kind of my baby. This would be the coffee table PC. And this is a lot more difficult. Jessica's is like, you can throw a bunch of stuff together. This one, you can't. So the idea here is a square coffee table. You know, you've got length, width, it's a perfect square with a glass cutout in the middle. And in this middle piece, it's actually where all of the computer bits are. It's a little bit more of kind of like an aquarium PC with a couple of secret sauce bits in there. The cooling is something entirely different and weird and wonky, and I don't really want to talk about that in this video. If we ever get to doing this, then I will talk about it then, because it's something that, quite frankly, if I tell you somebody's going to do it, and I don't want that. I want to do it because it's my baby. I came up with it. So,
and if you've heard about it, because we have talked about it a couple of times, please don't give it away in the comments.
Seriously. So, these would just be solid planks here. They lift up on these, come here you, on these little devices. These are just going to be simple hinges, nothing too crazy about it, meaning that underneath here in this area is a bunch of storage, just for general coffee table means and needs. On the bottom here, there's also another shelf. Very, very simple thing. I like footrest on my coffee table. Sometimes I like to put my feet up here. Sometimes I want to put my feet down here. Aside from that, there's really not too much about this. I don't really want to disclose what I have. Well, in terms of the computer inside, what I'm thinking of is a couch gaming setup, so virtualization is definitely involved. And then in addition to that, I also want it to be my overall media center. So I'd like to take all of my physical media, like DVDs, music, TV shows, anything like that, and put it on this computer that I will then plug into my television whenever I want to sit on the couch and be a lazy bum. That's pretty much all for this one. This one is another one of another brainchild of mine. This is the Firehouse PC. This year there have been a lot of civil service groups that have been under fire for questionable acts, just across the board. And we thought one of the civil service groups that hasn't really done anything wrong is firemen. In fact, I would say that they have done more right than almost anybody else in terms of just there's nothing questionable about what they're doing. When they go out, they do their job. There is a fire, they rescue people and put said fire out. If they can't put it out, then they rescue people and do the best that they can to contain it. There's nothing morally or ethical or ethically questionable about that. So we kind of think that they're underappreciated and need a shout out.
Not only that, this year they've had to go above and beyond with the natural disasters that have happened this year, including
Right.
Australia and California.
Yeah.
So where people from the US would fly, and I'm sure other countries did too. They flew to Australia to help out with the fires, and now there's California with the thousands and thousands of acres that are on fire.
California.
It's always on fire.
Yeah. So we came up with this. This is a scratch build. There's simply no way to put it. There really isn't a case on the market that we would be comfortable in putting any of this in. This is probably, it's not the most ambitious.
It's pretty ambitious.
It's pretty ambitious, but it's not the most ambitious out of all of them. So let's jump right into it. This would be your left panel. This entire bit right here. This is looking at it from the left side. This is the front. This would be fireman's sigil, which is this all blown up nice and big for you. Maybe we have down here a little bit of empty space specifically for firemen to sign it in Sharpie or something like that, and then we can clear coat over it to seal it in. Up top there's going to be some inscription. We're not going to tell you what that is because we want to keep it to ourselves. And then the biggest thing about this glass panel, and the reason why this case has to be custom built, is this whole glass panel, this whole side panel, is also the top panel. There's no seam there, there's no support bar, there's nothing. This entire thing is an opened cavity with a curved tempered glass side panel being part of the structural support. So on the inside here, we just put this little line in here just to give you an idea of what's going on. On the inside here, you've got obvious things like motherboard or maybe, GPUs over here, but that's not really what we're here for. We're here for that thing. Look at that. This would be a giant pipe pretty much that mounts floor and then kind of goes in the back, or maybe goes floor to ceiling or something similar to that. It's a fire main pipe, like a reservoir of sorts. And then we decided that on the back, to mount the glass panel in, there's going to be these toggle latches. There and there. So these two would both be toggle latches. And then this would be your back panel view of what this computer looks like from the back. So just to kind of give you guys an idea, we've bleeped out a good bit here.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, and a lot of it is ideas that haven't really been done before,
Right.
that we want to kind of get to first.
Right. And so a lot of this is really cool, but what makes this probably the most ambitious is one of the things that we want to do is make this very fireman specific. We want it to look like you walked into an old school fire department. By old school, we mean like 1920s. And so all of the fittings would have to be custom made to fit the fittings of what actual crimp style fire hose fittings look like.
Not only that, we intend on having like a full-on fire nozzle, like the old-fashioned ones in there.
Right.
And finding one in the size that we need is rather
Not possible.
not.
It's straight up not possible. So we would have to make one of those. These two components alone have to be made on some sort of lathe. There's no other way around it.
Which we currently don't have.
Nor do I possess, or either of us possess, the knowledge on how to actually use a lathe. So either would have to come up with some sort of partnership with somebody who's amazing at making brass fittings and maybe a brass nozzle, or we have to buy one and practice. And I'm not opposed to the latter. In fact, I quite welcome the latter.
I think that's it for this one.
That's pretty much it.
I'm pretty passionate about this one.
Yeah, we're pretty excited to get this one done.
So this one, I am very excited for. This one is extremely ambitious, and we can't really share much with you because, even because our channel is...
If you haven't noticed, the first word on the page is NSFW. All right? Just go ahead, use your imagination. Like, have fun with it. Use your imagination to the most far-fetched extent, because I promise you, we're going to exceed it.
So this is going to be a monster computer with dragon horns, a dragon tail, some scales, and water cooling. And that's pretty much all we can share with you, because even though our channel is 18 plus, there's still like, we're not allowed to share certain things. And this is one of those things where we would have to censor literally everything. In fact, we've gone back and forth as to, like, can we actually show this on YouTube? Is it allowed? The answer is probably no.
Probably no. So we're definitely going to be pushing the boundaries on what is technically available and what is technically allowed.
There's probably just going to be a sheet over most of the screen for a good majority of this build, and it's going to be amazing.
It's just going to be like a narration of what we're doing.
Pretty much. With some very choice words as to keep it PG-13 as best as possible.
I don't know, maybe we can like get on board with Float Plane or something like that.
Or maybe it just goes up on our Patreon.
We can do that. It's Patreon exclusive.
God. I don't know if Patreon
I don't know if Patreon's okay with that.
Let's find out real quick.
What's Patreon say?
Nudity is allowed on Patreon as long as it's flagged accordingly.
Okie dokie.
Nudity in the human body has been a part of art since the very beginning of our history, so it is intertwined that we would never even think as to ask whether or not the David would be allowed on Patreon, as long as it's flagged accordingly. And you need to make your whole page adult content only.
Okie dokie. We are okay with that. So this will most certainly be a Patreon exclusive.
Yes, content with mature themes should be marked as patron only. This means that you cannot post nudity in public areas, including your profile picture, banner, or tier images about the me section.
Okie dokie.
So people will have to be a patron for us. So maybe like make it a penny to activate to see it.
Sure. We'll make it as low as it can go.
Right, because we don't want to keep content from you, but at the same time, we can't exactly just, like, Patreon says that we can't make it a free thing. So we're going to have to charge in order for you to be able to see this content, because we cannot put it on
YouTube.
Right. So a lot of these computers are going to be giveaways, but this one
is not. Definitely not. So, due to the nature of this computer and the fact that it is so NSFW that we probably are not going to be able to show the bulk of it being created on camera, on YouTube, then we cannot actually give this to anybody. I can't even do something where it's like, you know, only 18 and up can be involved in this giveaway. I can't do that because I know for damn sure there's going to be a child who's going to be like, heh, I was born in 1972. I'm only 12 years old. Like, you know for certain. And I simply cannot have, neither of us can have a computer like that wind up in a child's hands under any circumstances.
Especially if they enter the giveaway without parental consent.
Especially.
Because they're going to open up that box and we're going to get in a lot of trouble.
Like, seriously, I can't divulge a whole lot, but I can tell you that in order for this to arrive intact, it has to be sent in a crate. Okay? So, if that gives you any idea of what we're talking about, it's not a small piece. You can't just like put this in a closet or something like that unless it's like a walk-in closet. I mean, it's quite a large piece. It's very ambitious, okay?
I don't even think it would fit in our walk-in closet comfortably. It would take up the whole like walkway.
It would take up the walkway. Yeah.
We don't have a dinky closet.
No. Anyways, so like for this to arrive on somebody's doorstep, you know, just a crate of this size, they would just be like, oh, I wonder what on the world could it be? So for that reason, we absolutely cannot give this away to a single person at all. We've already chosen the company that this goes to.
If that tells you anything about it.
It goes to one specific company.
No ifs, ands, or buts, and
No,
I'm very sorry.
And they are not allowed to know that it's coming to them. They are simply going to open up a crate and be bewildered and amazed and hopefully immediately grab a camera. I would like to see all of their faces.
So this is the Dawn of Electricity computer. My thought process with it was thinking about the beginning of electricity in the United States, and most people would think about Nikola Tesla and his inventions, but the thing that really made electricity necessary in a lot of towns other than light itself is the telegraph. So where I went with this computer is more like a museum display. So it would have the wooden chassis of the old telegraph machines with the little drawer that usually holds the paper and everything. On this one, it would be a false drawer, and it would be lifted off the ground a little bit with some feet, which is not exactly historically accurate to the telegraph boxes, but it's necessary for this computer.
It doesn't matter if it's historically accurate because it's got a glass hood over the top.
Where I was going with that glass hood is making it look like a museum display. So I had two different ideas, either one having a groove in the box that it sets in, or having a secondary floor where both the feet of the computer mount into and the glass sets into, so that it's not an open air test bench type computer. That way it looks like a museum display. This one's super doable. It just looks really cool.
There's really not much to it.
It's really kind of simple.
For those of you questioning about the size of this, this would be either MATX or ITX. We have not decided.
But it'd be pretty small.
It'd be pretty small.
Something that just goes on your desk.
Definitely giveaway material.
Yeah.
We have no need for a computer of this. This design or style or stature, if you will.
A lot of these are giveaway materials.
Okay, so this one is
The Miner's Prospect. And unfortunately, my drawings don't do it justice. I just could not portray what we were talking about.
It's quite a difficult concept to draw. So this one, the drawing doesn't necessarily do it a whole lot of justice. And it really doesn't make a whole lot of sense looking at it like this. But, you know what would make it a whole lot of sense? If I showed you an actual image of what exactly we're talking about. So this is a antique toolbox.
The Stanley number 801 toolbox.
Correct. Now, in our mock-up, we showed something similar to this. What we will not be using is an antique original. We will be recreating this because nowhere in my right mind do I have the desire to destroy one of these. That's not something that I am interested in. So rather we'd create something very similar in size because we don't necessarily need drawers or anything like that or anything to actually hold tools because, you know, let's face it, a computer goes in this. The computer as a whole is designed to stand up very similar to this. It has to stand up on one side with both of these doors opened. Now,
To some degree, at least.
to some degree, at least. If you leave it closed, there's going to be no airflow and you're going to have bad time. On the left side here, this would be somewhat of a glass panel with some degree of computer components as well as a bunch of geodes, similar to what a prospector or a miner might have in their toolbox. On the right side here, as you can see, there's a bunch of little holes, and that is for ventilation. Some sort of cooling device on this side, and some sort of a pass-through, probably a negative pressure system, not a whole lot. On this side, on this shot, you can actually see that there would be all of your I/O and what have not on this left-hand side, and a bunch of pass-throughs for USB. Now, you're probably wondering, what's the point? why would you build something so specific? And that is a LAN party. I know LAN parties don't really exist these days, but the idea is a really small computer that folds up in a little toolbox, and you show up to your friend's house looking like you're about to fix his toilet, and then bam, whip out a computer. You didn't fix his toilet at all. You just stole his Wi-Fi password. Bam, bamboozled again. This is definitely another giveaway. We can give this to anybody.
Where to start?
This is a bad idea. I cannot emphasize how much this is a bad idea. This is probably the worst idea that I've ever... This is the worst great idea that I have come up with in a very long time, if that makes any sense at all.
Oh, it's terrible. Don't do this. Please don't copy us.
We will not give this to anybody. We're going to start off right there because it is destined to fail.
Well, not destined to fail, destined to die. We don't really see this living a whole long time.
This is more of an artwork than it is a functional computer.
And we'd hate to give somebody a piece of artwork where they're expecting a computer and it die on them really quickly, where they're like, that was going to be my main rig.
Oh, it looked so great and wonderful. Until something bad happened, and then it didn't work ever again. But at least it looks pretty. Yeah, we don't want this. This is going to end up on a shelf. Somewhere.
Probably not a shelf, probably a table.
Probably, yeah, that's better. That's better. Off in the corner to look pretty. So let's get into what is it?
It is a sealed living terrarium. For those of you who don't know what a living sealed terrarium is, it is pretty much a glass box that you cannot open, and it has plants in it, sometimes animals, depending on what you put in it. And it is completely sealed, and it makes its own environment, and it lives forever.
It is a recycling ecosystem.
That sits on your cabinet.
Our idea here is to build one with like a pond or a bog or something similar to that, a body of water in the middle, and then
you put a computer in it.
Gonna put a computer in this body of water. There is no special water here. This is just normal, probably distilled water. All of the special bits is gonna come from the computer itself.
Because if we were to put distilled water or any other kind of water in it other than distilled water, it might kill the plants, and we don't want that.
So it should be noted that the fact that the computer is in this is totally a side project entirely, and the primary focus is to keep the plants alive. The fact that the computer runs is just like, woohoo, but the fact that the plants are alive is like, woo, you know, like an actual party.
We kept something alive!
We kept it alive, yeah! You know, so let's get into what it actually looks like. What's so special about this thing?
Well, it's going to have this little pond up here. I drew some little water lilies to try to, like, give away that it's water.
Nice, okay.
There's going to be lots of plants, lots of shrubbery.
Okay, all right.
I'm very bad at drawing plants. There's going to be, like, a branch here, I think is what that was.
Okay.
There's going to be a rock wall and a waterfall.
And this all goes on a square wooden-ish base of some sort?
Yep.
And all of it is sealed up?
Yep. Can't get to it.
I can see absolutely nothing wrong with this.
The I/O will be routed to the outside, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, we're gonna strip everything down and make it all special. We've got tricks up our sleeve to make sure that the electronics can at least turn on and have something playable once.
We've got to benchmark it at least once.
We're not gonna outright fry it, but it's not going to live a long life. Who here can think of a living room with just a coffee table in it? I certainly can't. I need matching end tables. Also, I need something smaller to practice on because previously mentioned, I don't know how to woodwork.
Neither of us do. And this was our practice piece.
Before we mess up something grand and large and needs to hold a lot of fluid.
Yeah. So this is a coffee table, not a coffee table. This is an end table that has been designed to match the coffee table.
There is no computer in it. It is not actually a computer build. It's just something that we also wanted to show you because this is probably going to be one of the first things that we can actually build.
Not only that, I love this one. It's very well drawn.
It is really pretty. So, there's really nothing to it. It's an end table.
Pretty much.
I think we're done.
I think this is where we wrap up. We are opening up our Patreon with this video. For those of you who are interested in supporting us building these computers, everything that you guys support us with will go directly back into this channel.
So one of the things that we wanted to bring forth about this is a lot of you are just here for computer content, and that's okay. And we don't want to like push you away or anything like that. But
we also don't want to disappoint you.
Exactly. So we have to bring forth a crushing reality that we cannot keep up pushing just computer content. We would love to, but fact of the matter is that
it's just us.
It's just us. We don't have, like, it takes time and energy to come up with an idea, execute it, and then edit it. And we're not a full team. It's just two of us having this go down in our spare time.
Not only that, it costs a lot of money, and currently you guys have seen 85 to 90% of our furniture in the videos that we already have, and we'd like to stop living like broke college students.
Rather than expending most of our income on computer stuff for content or something like that, we are going to be funneling that towards an actual living room setup, because I don't know about you guys, but I want a couch. I would love a couch.
Yeah, a couch would be really nice.
Yeah. So, and a lot of our furniture is going out. It's not, like, for example, our table. You guys have seen our table and the brutal things that we have done to it. And the reason why we've done that is because we got it at like a Goodwill for $30. Like, we got to replace a lot of this stuff. So,
unfortunately, that means that no more extravagant computer builds for the time being. And that's why we opened up our Patreon, is so that if you guys want more computer content faster,
you could assist if you wanted to.
We're not asking for you, like, if you can't afford it, don't do it.
Let me put it like this. Straight up, we're not asking for money. We don't want money. But the bigger problem is that people have demands and expectations, and we also just don't want to let people down. And so if you have a demand and you have an expectation and you want to see something from us, specifically from us, we're the only ones that can deliver something from us. Nobody else can deliver something from us. So if you wanted to, then we are opening the avenue for you to be able to.
But I think that about sums this video up, and
we'll see you guys in the next one. If you guys are interested in any of the links for our social media or Patreon or anything to do with us, go ahead and check out the video description, because that's where all that stuff is always posted.
Not only that, check out our Discord. We do game nights at least once a month. We try to do it more.
But all just depends on what our schedules line up as. This has been a really long video.
It has. Happy 50 subs.
Yeah.
Woo.
Woo.